Hello, and welcome to a very special episode of What to Think. I am Jolie Odell, VentureBeat's managing editor, and with me is Jordan Novet, our senior big data correspondent.
Yo.
Would you prefer a different title, or is that one okay for today?
That's fine, so long as I can say yo.
Wait, was that an app reference? Get out of here. You're fired.
No.
You can't do this podcast.
Look, we've been yoing around in the office for weeks.
No, yoing you can't verb that.
We have.
Damn it.
It's done.
Well, if it's genuinely too late, I guess we better just keep things rolling and get on with this podcast, which I should mention is sponsored by New Relic. Thanks very much, New Relic, for putting this tomfoolery on the digital airwaves. Okay. So the first thing that comes to mind when I say tech news this week is probably the remnants of Google I/O and what's been happening over the past few days as people digest what Google I/O was all about. Now, Jordan, you were there.
I was.
Did you feel the vibrations coming off of Sergey Brin? Was he even there?
I didn't see him. If he was, I didn't see him.
Well, did you feel his presence?
No.
So the force is not strong with Sergey?
Not at the moment.
Okay. With whom was the force?
Sundar Pichai, the head of Android and apps and Chrome, all that stuff.
I can see that.
Mm-hmm. The idea was that Android is going to become the key for all kinds of devices, the unifying ingredient for the living room where your TV has a new Android TV thing, where you have a watch that runs Android and shows Google Now notifications. You have a car that shows Android stuff in the dashboard. And you even might have a new Android phone that's super cheap. And you might even have one that is able to map the entire 3 dimensions of your bedroom.
That's too much.
That's what Google's going for. And I mean, the thing is, Microsoft is thinking multi-device.
Yeah.
Apple is gradually looking toward how it can have, a seamless experience with a watch and all this other stuff.
Right. Well, didn't Apple just announce some crazy car thing?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
So Apple wants to be in your car if you drive certain types of cars.
And Google does too. Google said they had more than 40 partnerships with car makers like Fiat and, Alfa Romeo, like so many companies.
Did they do a partnership with Tesla?
I can't remember. I don't think they did.
Okay.
They might have. I don't want to say the wrong thing on the podcast.
Oh. Yes, God forbid we should make a mistake on this here podcast.
Right.
Okay,
right.
No, but really, we don't want to mislead you. Corrections in audio podcasting are painful.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't even know how to do that. So one of the coolest things I think that came out of Google I/O is, now, let me preface this by saying, when I say cool, I mean just baseline, this is neat, is Google's new design language called Material.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That being said, I think it is a complete and total Windows Phone ripoff. It's a Windows 8 ripoff. And let me tell you why. And it's not even a good ripoff. Words cannot adequately express my disdain for Material, which is basically Windows 8 design language with drop shadows. Now, we had just gotten over drop shadows, right? We kicked drop shadows to the side and said, these are cheesy, these are corny, we're going to have a flat UI. And Apple was really focused on flat design, as opposed to design that tries to mimic the textures and sheens of things in everyday life. Mm-hmm. And so getting rid of drop shadows was a big part of that. Now, if you look at Google's Material, you got almost the same color palette as Windows 8 and even the iOS.
To a lesser extent, iOS, I think.
Yeah, but it looks a lot like Windows 8, and it's got those friendly little touchable tiles. It's got cards. It's got that super skinny navigational controls that are very fine-lined. Mm-hmm. It's beautiful. And it's completely Microsofty. Now, I know you have an opinion on this.
I didn't spend as much time as Harrison did. Harrison actually had an awesome post checking
Now, who's
in.
Harrison?
Oh, Harrison Weber.
Who's this Harrison?
Our news editor is actually our Zimbabwe correspondent for the current time. He is there for a short period of time. And somehow he managed to actually check in with a few awesome designers to ask their opinions. And you should read that post. We'll link to it later. But I think the cool thing about Material is that Google has sort of been hinting at it.
You almost said Microsoft.
Yeah. Stop.
Is that Freudian? That's Freudian.
Yeah, whatever. So anyway, Google has, I almost said it again. Google has had these kind of tiles, stacked on top of each other, these lines. Like, for example, it reminds me of the logos of the Google Cloud Platform and the Google Compute Engine. These straight lines, nothing too bubbly, but more edgy. And I think, just like you're seeing these multi-device plays from Google, Microsoft, and yes, Apple, there might be similar themes. I'm willing to acknowledge that what we call good design on Android was influenced by other OSs.
Well, that's just how the world of design works, There's no original idea. You all just kind of have to iterate on the things that have come before and do your best to push it forward.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a wise woman. Let's keep moving. The other thing that we said that was really cool about Google I/O was Google Data Flow, but we're going to talk about that now, actually, because what does Google Data Flow do, Jordan?
Okay.
You're our big data guy. I'm really setting this one up for you.
Okay, let me explain. So, in the early 2000s, Google came out with this programming framework or engine called MapReduce that could do batch processing for lots of different kinds of data. And we all know that Google has lots of different kinds of data to do search engine stuff and to figure out the best ads to show you. For years, Google has done this very well. So it turns out that all these years, since 2004, Google it's thought about better ways to process different kinds of data. And maybe it doesn't make sense to always do one job after another. MapReduce is historically hard to do. It's only in Java. And it basically creates the expectation that people are going to know what they're doing. And
That's dangerous.
So what Google did is said, you know what, forget this. We are going to go past MapReduce and not only let people do batch processing, but also stream processing, which people have come out with their own projects for, notably Storm. And basically, Google decided to do this as a managed service without telling you what it's doing, run batch processing jobs or stream processing. And it all runs automatically without you needing to engineer anything and without you having to do MapReduce coding, basically, with its new Google Cloud data flow. That was announced Google I/O.
This is all just so nerdy and so dense.
Yes.
So tell me about the most recent application that we find cool on this day.
Okay, well, Google didn't have very many applications to talk about because it's brand new. So actually, they've been using it for years, apparently. That's what I was hearing from some people who would know this. The way that they demonstrated it was to take, I think it's 5 million tweets live as they were coming in and saying, oh, what are people saying about the teams that are playing, like Brazil and Croatia?
About the World Cup.
The World Cup, yes.
Okay, and let me just say, we had a bee of a time getting anybody to call in for this podcast because every VC, every entrepreneur, every designer, developer, everybody in San Francisco, literally, to the very last baby, is watching the World Cup right now. And a lot of them are tweeting about it. Twitter says they've got 300 million tweets so far in toto about the World Cup. And I found that statistic for a global event with a global social media platform and the kind of social media platform where you tend to tweet more than once about the same topic, I found that number a bit low. Facebook said they had 1 billion interactions.
Oh!
1 billion.
That's way more than 300 million.
Well, it's more. I think, yeah. But interactions are also like comments and stuff and shares. I don't know.
Oh, okay. So it's not just like a little post on my Facebook feed.
Well, maybe. But I think also the Twitter posts might count for less in my estimation because maybe you just post goal or maybe you post, different updates. Maybe you live tweet your way through a game. You're not going to do that on Facebook.
I think Facebook is jealous that people do that on Twitter.
Jelly?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
I think they're trying to get more live news in your stream at the right time so that it goes that way. And maybe we should ask Facebook, so how much of the interactions are real posts?
Oh, maybe we should. What do you think they'll say?
We're not going to tell you.
Bupkis. That's what they're going to say. So, just one quick update on Uber before we welcome on our special guest, who is going to be our guest because he gets paid for this crap. And we'll talk about him in a moment. But Uber, remember that story, Jordan, back around New Year's Eve? It was on New Year's Eve.
It was.
Tragic story where an Uber driver was in between rides and was checking the app on his phone as he was driving around San Francisco.
That's what we think.
Well, okay, he was in between rides. What do you think an Uber does in between rides? They look for other Uber rides to pick up. On
Probably.
New Year's Eve, definitely. And God bless him. I hope he can forgive himself. He hit some pedestrians and injured a family, and a 6-year-old girl that was in the family died.
That's right.
This is the most tragic news, and it pains me to repeat it. And so now, California State Senate is saying that Uber has a responsibility to make sure its drivers are insured, not only when they are on an Uber ride, but in between Uber rides. And I don't know, I think this makes an awful lot of sense. Jordan, what do you make of it?
I think the companies are not going to be very happy about being told that they need to add insurance, but the companies have been adding more insurance in different ways, different amounts of money for different drivers in different conditions if and when they have accidents. So I imagine that it will only be a matter of time before these companies say, all right, we'll comply. Remember, these are companies that are getting crap loads of money from investors. They have more than $10 billion valuations. I think that gradually these companies will pony up, ante up, and pay.
If you're telling me that your company is worth $10 billion and you can't afford full-time commercial auto insurance for your drivers, who, by the way, I should note they're Uber drivers. When they're on a ride and in between rides, they're still Uber drivers looking for Uber rides. Yeah. And if you cannot pony up for reasonable insurance for them, then maybe you need to rethink your business model, because that to me is just basic. And
then, this state in particular, you can imagine that Lyft, Uber, Sidecar, all companies doing this, and there are more every day. I was just pitched on a new one the other day. They will pony up because this is California, baby, and this is their home. They can't be scarred by, local legislators going after them saying, hey, this is your own stomping grounds. You're not going to pay up to protect your own people. It's going to happen for sure.
Couldn't agree with you more, man.
Even if it doesn't pass the legislation, you can imagine that the companies don't want to be having an Achilles heel of people saying, hey, remember when legislators were trying to make you give insurance? They're going to give it.
It's a PR nightmare for them.
Yeah, it'll happen.
It's a nightmare. So with that, I want to say first a quick thank you to our sponsor, New Relic. New Relic is a software analytics company that makes sense of billions of metrics across millions of web and mobile apps. New Relic helps the people who build modern software understand the stories their data is trying to tell them. When software breaks, everyone loses. New Relic helps improve software performance and reliability, delivering a better experience for users and more success for your business. New Relic supports PHP, Python, Ruby, Java, .NET, yes, Node, iOS, and Android applications. That being said, I want to welcome our very own VentureBeat lead investigative reporter, Rich Riley. That was a little Oprah.
I liked it.
Okay, me too. Thanks for joining us, Rich. I'm so happy you can be here. What is the story with monkey parking? Parking monkey. I can never remember.
Yeah, Monkey Parking is an app developed by a group of young Italian developers, and it was beta tested earlier in the year in Rome to facilitate the parking conundrum there. As you can imagine, in Rome is very congested, very busy, and it's comparable in that regards to San Francisco. So they've brought the app in their target market is actually San Francisco. And the app has created a firestorm of controversy. They received a letter, a cease and desist letter from the California attorney, Dennis Herrera, who says the app is illegal, and he's demanding it be pulled from the App Store. And Parking Monkey, and Monkey Parking is digging in their heels. And the CEO, the young guy, very friendly, is coming over, I think, next week to tell the city of San Francisco what the app does and to fight this cease and desist letter, which is going to be a lawsuit by July 20th if he doesn't pull it from the App Store.
Now, let's talk for a second about why the state cares about this app. Because there are I think there are lots of other apps that do pretty much the same thing. Why are they picking on this guy?
In San Francisco, which is a very gentrification sensitive city, it's touched the nerve with the politicians and with some in the general public there. It's not the state per se, that would be the state AG, but it's the district attorney, Dennis Harari. He's an ambitious guy who sees an app that he is claiming is illegal because his assertion is that it's auctioning off public parking spaces. Monkey Parking CEO Paola Dubrovny says that's not the case. So he's going to come answer the music, and I imagine he'll be staying in an Airbnb situation.
Oh, that's great, man. So what's this guy like? Have you talked to him?
Yeah, I talked to him a few times. His English is excellent. He's an educated developer, extremely friendly, good sense of humor, and has been taken aback by the firestorm-esque blowback from the city politicians and the people in San Francisco about this app. So for whatever reason, people have fixated on this, and the Dennis Harari is fixated on this, and it's a showdown. It's a classic showdown between an app developer and the city that he's promoting to be the launch pad for monkey parking.
It's so crazy that a city that's supposed to be so innovation friendly is actually kind of squishing this application. Why? What does the city lose with this app working?
I think from the perspective of the city attorney, Dennis Harari, he sees this as a kind of a template for maybe a perception of what is wrong with the process of lots of very successful and startup tech companies moving to San Francisco. So there's some sources have told me that for Harari, this is like the last straw, and he's going to, and he has put his foot in the sand and said, and drawn a line and says, this won't be crossed. And the monkey parking team says that they're not doing anything wrong, and they vowed to fight it. In fact, he's coming back in a week and a half from Rome to do just that.
Rich, having sat next to you in VentureBeat's global headquarters in San Francisco, I am familiar with these people, and I understand that there's some lingo about this app that makes it stand out and makes me laugh my head off. So can you share for people some of the lingo, like the parking spots?
Oh yeah, well, it's a really neat app. I mean, it is extremely creative, and it is the epitome of disruptive technology. So if you're using monkey parking and you want to find a parking spot in your neighborhood in the Mission, for example, and there is no parking spots, you can go on the app on your mobile device, and the available parking spaces will be, for those using the app, will be denoted by a monkey-faced icon. Now, the more you use monkey parking, you're gifted virtual bananas. So increase the banana payload the more you use it. It's so fun. You have to try it. It's going to be a showdown, Jolie and Jordan.
All this just makes me think of Mario Kart. Yeah, just a little bit.
That's hilarious.
Well, because Donkey Kong is there, and then they throw out the bananas, but you never really have to park in Mario Kart. You just run crap over.
I actually want to know, Rich, have you used monkey parking yourself, or have you just heard about it?
No, I know I've screwed around with the app. My wife loves it. She's all for it. I'm neutral because I'm writing about it, of course, objectively. But I see this transcending just San Francisco. I see it becoming maybe a national issue. Certainly in the press it is, but I see a potential federal court intervention if it's a freedom of speech issue, according to the monkey parking team. So I don't know if San Francisco and the city attorney is going to be able to have the last say whether monkey parking is pulled or not. I think there's a possible federal appeals decision if it turns out not in monkey parking's favor, and they have vowed to fight it. And I could see this thing going up the chain of command in terms of the American court system. It's very interesting.
When you say going up the chain of command, in my mind, I just see a little monkey climbing a ladder. I can't take this too seriously. I can't.
And bananas everywhere.
Exactly.
It's bizarre, and it's taken a life of its own because there was a big article on Time yesterday about it, and it brings up all sorts of really crucial issues of technology and civic duty and responsibility, and so it's just bigger. I think it's gotten a lot bigger than just the app. I think there's some issues of free speech and so forth regarding it, and I think that is going to be borne out in a courtroom relatively soon. So that's July 20th. If the app is not pulled, then the lawsuit will be launched by San Francisco against Monkey Parking, who actually live in Rome but will be moving back and forth between that city and San Francisco in the near future.
Well, folks, you heard it first here. When in San Francisco, do not do as the Romans do, or you will have to face a nasty cease and desist order. Thank you, Rich, so much for being on this episode of What to Think.
I've had a ball. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. I'll see you later.
This has been another riveting episode of What to Think, featuring yours truly, Jolie Odell, and the dashing Jordan Novet.
Yo.
No yo. No yo. You know how the kids say YOLO? This is a no-yo zone.
I'll see what I can do about that.
You do. And we will talk to you all next week on What to Think.